Yeah. So, welcome back, YouTube family and Facebook guys.
How we calling them?
To our channel. Yeah, they're fam now.
Hi,
welcome
fam.
back, fam. Yeah, I know we've been gone a super long time. I think the longest break we've taken since we started vlogging.
Probably.
But yeah, update, plot twist things.
Yeah, we hinted at this in earlier videos, but we've had an interesting investment experience or journey, like in pursuing investment in the last year, that we haven't really been able to talk in full detail about, especially because of some stuff which will have aired just before this episode that we'll get into.
Surely you've seen.
Yeah. So we just wanted to share a bit of how that has been, how we tried and failed, spoiler alert, to raise investment for our company and what that means for where we are now. So we just dive into the story.
Let's just go straight in.
Okay. So yeah, Dickie and I were gainfully employed individuals who had this great side project, AfricanStockPhoto, that we were vlogging about last year. And then towards the end of last year, we started having conversations with a few investors, and we got a commitment, which was super exciting news.
Yeah, you've seen the video.
Yeah,
these guys.
But the outcome is 2018 is the year where Dickie and I both exit our jobs that we've been doing full time.
Hang on, what? Yes, we just quit our jobs, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we left our jobs on the back of that, knowing that this we were expecting to have this money come in around February. Of course, we know, we're not that naive to think that the money will arrive on time. So
yeah,
we had a bit of a buffer. We thought like we can make it a few extra months in case there's a delay in the cash hitting the bank. But on the back of that, basically, we knew we are able to run this company for 2018 at least as a full-time project.
Yeah. So since then, it took longer than even we had planned for. Like our worst case scenarios, it went worse than that. So we had planned, I think, each for around 4, maybe 5 months if we could stretch it into the year, and then we would be like, at that point we're at zero bob in the accounts. And our investor just had issues with their businesses so that they couldn't fulfill their commitments, and as such it took them a much longer time. We're talking like 6-7 months until they were able to really push the process forward. And by that time, obviously, we're also not foolish enough to sit around doing nothing. So we started to look around for options the moment we realized that this money was taking longer than it should. Yeah.
So we had a lot of good conversations with different people, all sorts of investors, private, what's the word I'm looking for? Angel investors on their own. We had a few pitches to VCs and so on. We took part in a couple of pitch competitions, this kind of thing. The whole range of things which typical startup founders go through. And we had a lot of promising, like, I'm interested, this is good, tell me more type feedback. And a lot of a couple of actual yeses, like yes but here terms or yes but evaluation stuff and so on. But there was a repeating pattern where we were getting the deal right to the edge but not over, couldn't get it over the line. And this was the pattern for a while. And I guess the most interesting one, the one we were saying at the top, is at some point we were approached and then applied for Lions Den. Yeah, and that was a very cool experience.
That was a cool experience. Yeah. Like, so maybe we'll talk about this in another vlog, but part of the joy of quitting our jobs and starting this was the adventure. And this was like one of the more adventurous parts of the last 6 or 7 months that we've had. But anyway, so yeah, we're on Lions Den. Tetemekad through it a bit, but we made it, and eventually even got an investment from one of the more astute judges on the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was super exciting. We left there really happy. Unfortunately, in following conversations, it was becoming increasingly clear that we weren't the right fit at the time that we were trying to raise that money. So eventually, even that deal didn't work out.
Yeah, and so that was our adventure through, basically through half of this year.
Yeah.
Chasing fundraising. And because neither of us is an endless well of money, for personal reasons, it was reaching a point where we just had to, draw a line in the sand.
Yeah.
If money was not in the account by day X, no matter how promising the deals or the investments were looking, it was time to solidly commit to, plan B. And where a plan B is something that may prevent us from being able to continue with what our original plan was, which is the two of us working full time on AfricanStockPhoto. And that's where we are today, basically. As of a few weeks ago, Dickie and I both we crossed that line. It was in the middle of August, and we have stopped fundraising, and we've chalked it down as an L in the fundraising column.
Startup 1, founders 0.
Yeah. So it was an adventure.
Yeah.
We've tried. I mean, this is one of those things where I think it's important to have a co-founder on, because this stuff can be heavy.
Yeah.
This stuff can be heavy, especially when you're looking, not only, forget all the rejection and this kind of thing. I think we're thick-skinned enough, and our self-worth isn't tied so strongly into the success of this company. But our wallets is a different story. when you're running out of your personal runway, it can be a tough time.
Things can get thick.
Yeah. But I think it's important for us to explain where that leaves us as AfricanStockPhoto. This project is not stopping by any means. In fact, if anything, of late it's been giving us more psych than ever,
which is kind of crazy. So what it looks like going forward is basically Sitati and I are going to fund our lives first, however that looks like. It might be in full-time employment, might be in consultancy, might be in gigging and whatever it is, but that will be our primary work in our lives. And then ASP will continue to function, continue to run, we'll continue pushing ASP. However, not full-time, obviously, because money dictates that we eat first. Yeah,
and it's worth noting that that's how we launched, and that's how we got to the point where investors were interested.
Yeah.
And actually, in the month of August, where we were distracted through many things, both personal and business, fundraising kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We had our most successful month ever of sales.
Yeah.
And our growth is still increasing month on month.
Yeah.
Both in terms of number of photos, people signing up, and sales. ASP is now at the point where it's selling enough images that it's paying for its own costs of running it, and even for the marketing cost. And so organically it's growing. It just means that some of the more ambitious plans we had for, really kicking that into a high gear in a very short term.
Yeah, those
are
our
going to
goals.
have to shelve those for now. Yeah.
Which is, it's just a different way of growing a business is what we're doing. There's the way that is currently super popular, which is raise money, increase really quickly, like steeply, make money, make billions, sell the company for $1 billion, and you've done great. But there is the traditional way of just steadily growing a company, building up capacity, and eventually that company still ends up in the same place. It just takes a little more time.
Yeah. So that's where we are. Check out the site if you haven't recently. There's a lot more content on there than there was just a few months ago. If you're a photographer and you haven't signed up, then stop watching and sign up, then come back.
And all of you buyers who have made our last 2 months so happy, well done, and keep coming back.
So I think we should dive into that, follow that tangent for a second. We recently added image, not recently, like in one of our last vlogs we were talking about the fact that we'd added image packs, because we had started as pay as you go, you just pay a flat rate for each image. Then some people were saying, I want many images, but I can't pay all this for each image, so I want some kind of bulk discount. We added image packs, which is common on stock photography sites, but in the first couple of months, not a single person bought those. And then I don't know what happened in August. I don't know if it's just summer spirit that's bitten everyone, but they've started flying off the shelf, which is a very exciting place to be. So the big props to everybody who has been buying authentic African images. We also wanted to just sum up with some of our lessons learned. And the lessons learned in this are things that if you spend 5 minutes Googling, you're going to read. And we're going to tell you now, and if you're a startup funder, it's the kind of advice which just sounds so damn obvious that you're like, you'll breeze through it.
Of course. Why would you think that?
People say these things because they've lived through it and they've learned it the hard way. And so for me, lesson one is investor money means nothing until it is money, until it is cash in your bank account. Until then, all the yeses in the world, all the commitments in the world, are not something you should plan your business around. You're taking huge risk if you do that.
Yeah.
We knew this going in. We
planned
built up
for it,
buffers
I mean,
for it, but it didn't go over the line. At least not within the timelines that made sense for us.
Yeah.
So lesson learned there for me is just if you're making a big decision based on investment like we did, leaving our jobs, it probably makes sense to wait it out until that cash actually hits the account before you make the leap.
Yeah. Great advice. Number 2. A hard no is better than a come let's talk about it, convince me, come, you speak to my team and we'll see if we can get things moving. By all means, go and speak to that team, but just know that there is a higher probability that this person is just like not going to give you money than they will.
And the time investment is one of the worst things here, because the reason fundraising is so frustrating as a startup founder is it's not the pitching and stuff. Like of course you get a bit nervous on the day of a pitch and so on, but I find it quite exhilarating. It's like startup founding on the edge. However, every day you spend preparing for pitches or traveling to follow-up meetings and so on is time that you should have been spending, or you ideally would be spending, growing your actual business and generating revenue. Instead, you're spending money on fuel and Ubers and neckties and so on. So that's the reason why these long drawn out no's to me are way more frustrating than just a straight up clear no. Also, the feedback you tend to get from that is less useful, because when someone says no, you're too early for me, come back when you're making this kind of revenue, or no, the customer base you're trying to address is not big enough for me. This is feedback that whether you agree or disagree with it, you've been given a clear message from someone whose opinion you presumably value to some extent. But if it's like yes, not quite yet, you didn't actually get the reason. Most of the time you're just going to cut off that relationship, or at least cut off that conversation, without actually having clear indication of why you couldn't get that.
And without the feedback, you don't even know how to, if you want to approach this guy a year down the line, like what did you do wrong, or what wasn't working in the company yet that you can now fix and go back and be like, see, I told you. Like here is proof of the stuff that you didn't believe. If you don't have that, then that person has only wasted your time exclusively. Like that's all they've done. But anyway.
That's good. I have one more. Lesson 3.
Get out.
Lesson 3. Okay. Actually, the lessons 3 and 4 that I have in mind maybe apply more specifically to the Kenyan startup scene, which is, yes, the companies here getting funded. Yes, it's a booming scene right now, but it's not quite, you sometimes listen to podcasts or watch pitch shows online where people in Silicon Valley come with a cool idea or a twist on something existing and it's $10 million. Lesson 3 is about the timing in the life cycle of your company when it makes more sense to raise money. We started talking to investors when we were pre-revenue, and even those who call themselves seed investors and angel investors, the overwhelming feedback was that they wanted to see a validated idea before they would give us money. If we had already by that point proven the business and started generating revenue, they would have had the conversations would have gone much smoother, I feel. Ironically, to add to that, the toughest time was actually the first few months after we had made our first sale, when we were no longer pre-revenue, we no longer had that beautiful protected tag in front of us.
Now you just made $300.
Now you're just broke. You are. Exactly. You're not yet pre-revenue, you're just not making a lot of money yet. And at that point, people would be distracted, like, you said you're making how much? Only this? And to be honest, even when we were pitching in the den, we were still like, our numbers are more impressive now than they were then, and I feel like, I'm happy that the conversation wasn't too dominated. Just like, how much?
But they're definitely still asking.
The questions were there. So I mean, this bleeds into number 4, which is that unfortunately It's the financial realities of starting a startup mean that it's not for everyone. It's not a thing that the world promises you just because you have a good idea, or just because you have good idea and good execution, that you're going to have the backing or the money or the runway to be able to pull it off. We've learned this the hard way, that we tried to grow and put all our effort into it, and we just couldn't get the money across the line, and we didn't have enough money in our bank accounts to continue funding it off our own back. So we're going to have to step back and do it again more part-time. So that's a tough reality. I think we were under no illusions of this being a walk through the park.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the confidence does bite you, and you think that we'll be able to get this thing over the line to at least sustain us through the first year or two. Yeah, we were not able to do it.
So, there is a bit of disappointment, but that's it. Like, that's all there is.
Yeah.
It's like we had much greater ambitions for where the company would be at this point in the year, and for the reason that we are not there yet, we are disappointed. Like, however that came about, if we had gotten the money and we hadn't hit the targets that we expected for this point in the year, we would still be disappointed. For in as far as we aren't where we want to be, we are disappointed. In any other way, it's like, we were ready.
Yeah, I think it's worth reiterating that it wasn't like a blind jump into the dark for either of us.
Yeah.
We were both at the point in our careers where next adventure was calling.
Yeah.
AfricanStockPhoto was the catalyst, but not the only reason to be moving on to whatever we ended up moving on to. So and that's a key point, that the disappointment isn't, we didn't get investor money. Investor money is not your money to just spend on Indomie. It's supposed to help you grow your company. And
as a free plug, either Indomie money, can we
shout out
have
Indomie
a couple
money.
of boxes?
Those 5 packs by the those things have got us through some dark months. Anyway, it's the goal. We wanted to be further down the line by now, but we're still seeing growth. That's the thing that makes me happiest. And in fact, right now, knowing that we are the 100% owners of a startup that is growing month on month, generating enough money to run itself, it's a nice place to be.
There's satisfaction in that.
It doesn't have to follow one plan. So even if it takes another 2-3 years to get to what we hope to take 1 or 2, it's fine. We'll just do that.
Exactement.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts?
No, not really. I can't even think of anything like dumb to say. I was hoping to end on a funny note, but I have nothing. So,
bye.
Tonaneni.
Good stuff.